Hi, welcome to Boys Meet Film. Today, Kellen and I are talking about 28 years later, our favorite zombie movies, and what we would do on the cusp of a zombie apocalypse. So, if you're tuning in, turn on your car, close your eyes, and hit the gas.
Initiating weekly entertainment brought to you by Extra Rad. Boys Meet Film will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy.
Welcome to Boys Meet Film. My name is Michael.
And my name is Kellen.
And today, we are talking about 28 years later. The recent film by Danny Boyle, who comes back again to direct. And it's written by Alex Garland and Danny Boyle, I believe.
Yep.
And Kellen, first impressions. What did you think about this movie?
Well, first impressions, Michael, I'm glad you asked. Initially, I think I told you this in the theater. My first thoughts were, wow, this editing is really fast and a little bit disorienting. And at first I wasn't into it, but then I saw what they were trying to do with it, and I fell in love with it.
And how long has it been since you've seen the first movie 28 hours later?
28 days later.
28 days later. They really missed the opportunity for 28 hours
They did.
later.
They could have scaled up more incrementally.
Yeah.
Instead, they went from days to weeks to years. And what they're going to do next is beyond me. But man, it's been a long time since I've seen the first one. Maybe like more than 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah. But
yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time, though.
I just watched it for the first time 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Before we saw the movie, and I was very impressed.
Pretty cool. Right?
I think it's maybe my favorite zombie movie. And that's saying a lot because there's some really good ones. Like,
what's your favorite?
I mean, I literally think it might be 28 Days Later. After watching it, I mean,
aside from 28 Days
okay,
Later.
Besides from 28 Days Later, it's hard to look past Zombieland because of how fun and just like original it was, you know?
Okay.
It brought a little comedy, but it also had the gore and everything you want from a zombie movie.
Yeah.
If we're talking about serious, like, something that I really admire is Night of the Living Dead. I mean, it's just so classic, you know, and what they were able to achieve with such a low budget is incredible. And just like the commentary that movie has. I think that's something that I love about zombie movies is, and I think this is something that this series does really interesting, is the commentary is always very different.
Mm-hmm. Night of the Living Dead, that was 70s, right?
50s, 60s. I think 60s.
I think it was 60s because I have a little bit of a nugget about that.
Okay.
Mothership Connection. This is how we're going to start off with this.
Okay.
The band. They were, this was their early days, and they were touring, and I believe they were like somewhere in the South. I think like Georgia, somewhere outside of it, Atlanta. And you know what? Fact check me. I don't care.
We don't fact check on this podcast.
Good.
Just kidding.
But this was their early days. So like before that, they were like having some success with funk, and then they went like, because they were Parliament, and then they became Mothership Connection. I hope it's not the
Parliament
other way around.
Funkadelic?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Or maybe it was the other way around. I don't know. But they started experimenting with psychedelics, and that's when their music really made a huge shift, and they started putting out a bunch of hits, right? So because of that, they started going on tour. And at the time, they were all crammed into like this bus, and they had all taken acid before this long road trip, driving to like their next set, right? Their next gig. And they were driving through this small town in Georgia, and the driver, like the front man for Mothership Connection, it was dusk, And as they pulled into this town, they noticed that it was like super misty and like really creepy. There were no people around, and they rounded this bend, and like it opened up into this street where there were just like zombies, just covered in blood, just all like, like coming out of the ground, and like feet dragging behind them, like super gnarly and creepy, and like dead bodies everywhere. So in response to all that, everyone in the bus freaked the fuck out, and they just like hit the gas and sped through the town.
Naturally.
And like they're supposed to get gas, but they just like fucking dipped. Like they almost hit some zombies on the way out. Turns out it was the set of Night of the Living Dead that they ended up driving through.
Oh, dude, that is classic.
And they were just tripping balls. And yeah, that's
awesome.
Little nugget of history.
Yeah. No, that tracks. That sounds like the 60s.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, that one's classic. What about you? What are like some of your favorite zombie movies?
So 28 Days Later is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say that because I mean it established like a lot of groundwork for like serious zombie films. And I mean, of course, like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead preceded that by a long time. But, it's just such a refreshing take, and it's also extremely character driven.
Yeah.
It's like all of this trio of films so far it's all character driven.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. There's something really interesting about the way they do all these. But second favorite for me, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's a classic.
That's just a fun movie, dude.
Yep.
Like, back in the days, like that and Hot Fuzz.
Oh, my God, dude. Hot Fuzz. Such a great movie.
Dude, they don't make movies like that anymore, man.
No. They really don't. I don't know if you saw, what was it called? Like At World's End or something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'd forgotten about that film.
Yeah. Exactly.
Didn't that come out in the weird span of like world-ending like disaster movies? Like there's 2012, there's At World's End, then there's This Is the End.
Yeah. It was definitely in that period, I think, but a little later.
Yeah, because there's this like big nostalgia about 2012.
Yeah.
And like the whole Nostradamus like Aztec thing.
Man, 2012 was way more serious to me before 2012.
Yeah.
As a kid, dude. Like I was like, guys, like you're not even listening to the Mayan calendar right now. We're fucked.
Yeah, I know. And it's interesting because like now we're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
But we have no like cool prediction for it. It's just like, we're past our expiration date already. We're just like old milk in the fridge.
Yeah.
And like we're not important anymore in
well,
this timeline.
And we're old enough to drink and all that. So, it's just like let's end it.
We're too young to have lived a full life, but we're also too old to like really care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I think this is an interesting segue into the second movie because that's something about zombie movies that I love is they're a great representation of the world in a crisis, right? And that's something that it's not funny. Obviously, we're like, the world is going through a lot of crazy things right now.
Well, it's because we're Gen Z. Like
yeah.
I mean, if we died tomorrow, it'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're privileged to say that, we're in a good position to be able to laugh and try to make comedy out of these situations. But zombie films, they always take that crisis, right? The moment of crisis, and they bring humanity into those moments of crisis. So like the first one, right? Like we get spoilers for the first movie. What is it like to fall in love? Is it even worth maintaining relationships? When is it worth surviving? Is it worth, surviving? Is it worth, maintaining relationships? When, is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth, surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is it worth surviving? Is it worth maintaining relationships? When, is you know? Like why survive if you're not going to have relationships with people, you know, was kind of the core theme that I felt in that one. The second one very much is about government, you know, like how would a government handle this situation? And spoilers again, one of the gnarliest scenes in that movie is how the government, you know, there's just a mob of people in the street and they can't tell who's infected or not. So it's open fire. It's a firing range. And they just kill all the citizens that they brought up for, you know, weeks. And this movie, I felt like was the most tender out of all of them. You know, it was very reflective, and we'll get into it a little bit more in spoilers, but something I was not expecting from the trailer that really threw me off was Ralph Fiennes' character.
Oh yeah.
Like
That's great.
such a interesting character. Because visually very jarring and misleading, but at the core of his character,
he's bald.
Yeah.
And
you know how much I hate bald boys.
Yeah. Never trust a bald, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I just think zombie movies are so interesting. And I mean, you know, obviously that extends outside of this trilogy. You know, Dawn of the Dead is a great one about consumerism, you know. Night of the Living Dead has a great text about race and, you know, community. Really cool films. I feel like a lot of people look past that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, all zombie movies are kind of about consumerism.
Yeah.
You know, at their core. That's where like the creature came from, cuz I mean, it used to be, I think zombies are associated with horror. More so, and like in 28 days later, 28 years later, this trilogy, it's almost more associated with like disaster. It's like it's more of a disaster film in a way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to like take a look at where this film fits into a category like that, because like, you know, you look at the power of consumerism originally with like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. The message that those directors were trying to send was more of like, you know, this sort of herd mindset of consuming.
Yeah.
Right?
Blind consumption too.
Yeah. In a capitalistic society. It always happens like in the West, like in America, or in this case in the UK.
Yeah.
Where, you know, money is king, cash is king.
Yeah.
We always need things, right? But I mean, since the years of like those early zombie films and that take on consumerism and capitalism, we've had a chance to kind of take a step back and look at whether like, okay, like, should we be looking at this in like a broader term, right? And like a broader scope. The power of the masses, the people themselves, and like the force of the people as either a force of nature on its own, you know, as a natural course, or specifically against man, and how we fit into that. I mean, because in a way, like at a certain point, we're gonna eat ourselves out of this world in which we live.
Yeah.
And
it's such an interesting something that I think is really fascinating about zombie movies, and like they really hit home in the first 28 days later, is that although it's a representation of consumption and, you know, capitalism, whatever you want to call it, currency has no value anymore, you know? So the people who are not zombies, who are not infected, they have to navigate the world without currency anymore. And it's such a jarring, you know, shift into another world where like, oh, people don't have, like, there's something about money that controls society too, in a way where we abide by the rules, because, if I do this, I get a fine, or whatever. But when that's gone and you don't care about money anymore, it's about food. There's people with evil intentions, right? It strips down the psyche to its core animalistic instincts,
Yeah, it's about life and death.
Yeah.
Like that is the most valuable currency is life.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, juxtaposing that to the dead who have, they're undead. Like they're neither dead nor alive.
Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting too, what you said about like, what we place value on, like 28 days later, for example, like, is it worth it to have relationships? Is it worth it to love? Is it worth it being alive?
Yeah.
Like life in those situations almost has like the same value as currency, but also the same like, zero value.
Yeah.
Right. I think of a friend of mine. We were playing like it was like a party game, but it involved zombies, and it was like a horror game, and it was jarring. But like we're passing around this joint, and she's like, yeah, I think if I ever like found myself in a situation like this, I would just kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? you wouldn't try to like duke it out or like, board yourself up in a house or like, try to hang on. She's like, no, I would kill myself as soon as possible. Like if I see one zombie, I am going to go into the other room, unlock the safe and get a gun and blow my brains out.
Sick joint circle.
Yeah. Nightmare blunt rotation.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to joint circle. Who the fuck am I?
This guy smokes weed. Hey guys, can I join your joint circle?
Weed is tight.
Is that can I hit your bong? Like
it's just a joint.
What?
Joint circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that now.
No, but like, I mean, for her,
yeah,
the value of life is dependent on society, right? And permanence and stability.
Mm.
But when that's taken away, like her life has no value to her.
Mm.
Now, me, on the other hand, in society, I'm worth almost nothing.
Yeah.
However, if society collapsed, for some reason, I have amassed like crazy survival skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be able to survive like a cockroach.
Well, you grew up in a more like, an environment with more nature and tendencies to be outdoors and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a different upbringing than most.
Yeah.
I was raised in the woods.
By wolves.
and then cannibals.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's an interesting thing because I feel like everyone has a different opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, that was something that really got me a little choked up in the first movie is when he goes to his parents' house and they have that picture of him in their hand and they kill themselves like immediately,
Yeah.
I think that's just an interesting concept, whether it's, the fear of not having stability in, the facade of stability through having a government or whatever, or it's just the fear of the unknown and having to deal with fucked up shit,
Mm-hmm.
I think every person has to like that's what's cool about these movies is you have to kind of think about like what would I do in this situation, and that brings the things that you value in life to the forefront of your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Okay. It's been
3 weeks since you looked at me.
Fuck off. It's been 24 hours since the outbreak.
Oh, okay.
What are you doing?
It seems a little late.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
I mean,
But like, what have you done?
What have
and
I done?
Where are you going?
Okay, and where am I at?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought you meant like it's been 24 hours since the outbreak. You just woke up from a bender.
That would be such a great opening to a zombie
28
movie.
beers later.
Oh, dude.
That's copyrighted. You can't take that from us. Any and all IPs said herein,
Yes.
it belongs to us.
It belongs to
And
us.
if you
It's
try
our
to
sole
take
property.
our lawyers will fuck you.
Can I add one more?
Yeah.
We make like a fake beer company, like Yodello.
Or
And-
like low mode.
Yeah. And it holds the infection. Like everyone gets infected from it.
Dude.
But there's one guy with a gluten intolerance who can't drink that beer.
And his blood holds the cure because he has celiac.
The only people that survive are gluten-free people.
Dude, that's funny. It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
That's okay. We're not gonna get into this on the pod,
No.
but do you remember Birdman?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember
God.
in the Mandarin Chicken?
Yeah.
That's basically the plot of that.
Yeah. We can never
Minus
talk
Birdman.
about that plot. It's too good.
It's too good. It's too good.
Well,
okay.
okay. You
So-
have 2 minutes.
Okay. So it's been 24 hours.
Mhm.
All right. In the first hour, I'm sure there would be some kind of like some indication to me and probably to the general public that shit's hitting the fan.
Mm-hmm.
We have social media, we have news outlets, we also have like government SMS warnings.
Mm-hmm.
There would most definitely be an indication. So I would see that. I would get my girlfriend. I would get our dog. I have not really a go bag, but like a backpacking pack with like all my camping shit.
Mm-hmm.
I have dehydrated food in my closet. I also have like 5 gallons of water.
Nice.
All I have to do is take one trip to the car and I have everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
I also have weapons
Whoa.
of mass destruction.
I've seen that katana.
I know, like it would, yeah. I'm just gonna say right now, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I gotta have that katana.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool.
It's checking it off the hypothetical bucket list.
Yeah.
Fantastical bucket list. Okay. So what we're gonna do next is,
You have 10 seconds.
fuck you. We are going to get out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're not going to go to any supermarkets trying to get any food. We're
Mhm.
getting the fuck out of there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The freeways are probably going to be backed up,
Mhm.
but that's why I'm like beefed up with like 10 ply all terrain tires and like a lifted Subaru. So I'm good.
You don't think what if there's zombies that can crash through windows?
Of course they can crash through windows,
Yeah.
but we're going to get out as soon as possible. So we're going to head east. We're going to go into the desert and then make our way up north. Again, we're going to have to avoid major cities.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is like major highways leading further up north into like a place that isn't so desolate and arid like Southern California. It's going to take some time. So we'd probably have to like go into the Sierra Nevadas,
Yeah.
get elevation, hang out there, and trap raccoons and squirrels for food.
Mm.
My girlfriend is vegan, so that's going to be an issue for her. But
oh no.
she has told me in confidence that if it came down to it, in a survival scenario, she would eat meat.
You just doxed her.
What?
She told you that in confidence.
Oh no, dude, it's fine. It's not like it's religious.
You should have kept that a secret.
It's not like she's Muslim, She's like, yeah, I'd eat pork, no problem. Like,
Yeah.
that's not,
I think for me, I would try to raid the nearest grocery store as soon as possible.
First mistake.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah. No, I fully know.
Hella risky. What are you bringing with you?
Honestly, probably nothing. I'm just
No weapon.
bare-fisted, dude. Bare-fisted.
Bare-fisted in shorts.
Yeah, and sandals.
And a short sleeve t-shirt.
Yeah.
No, a tank top.
And I'm getting a shopping cart just full of my favorite food.
Okay.
And coming back here, I've gotten about like 230 racks, a couple handles.
Sure.
And I'm going to drink my life away and watch all my favorite movies while the electricity is still on. And then after that, it's anyone's game. We'll see what happens.
After that, Michael is free use.
I just feel like someone's going to save me. Someone's going to just fucking come knocking on my door.
I just feel like Trump wouldn't let that happen.
Oh, no. Fuck that guy. If that was the only guy saving me, I'd fucking...
Yeah.
Zombie time.
Yeah. Well, this is why it's important to have, the thing I've learned about in business, Michael, is no matter what the scenario, you should always have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Whether you are like, a major shareholder in an LLC, or you are just an average Joe anticipating the apocalypse. It's important to know what your next steps would be.
What if your exit strategy is to not know?
Well, then
go out with a bang.
See that is accredited to like what you want your end result to be. If you want to just like die or you don't care,
yeah.
Well, you're probably gonna die.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Yeah. I'm too lazy. I'm just too lazy to come up with a plan.
Just goon until they break through your windows.
You're using all the electricity. We
have limited resources. You're using all the jergens.
Speaking of which, fuck, marry, kill. 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 years later.
Whoa. Shit.
FMK.
Okay. Marry 28 days later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I could live with that.
It's old, but
yeah.
It's the original. It's what you're used to.
Yeah. Fuck 28 years later.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of parts about this that are very attractive.
Yeah. It's new. It's hot.
It's new. The Grundles.
It's fresh.
Yeah.
Oh, the Grundles.
Yeah.
That's our unofficial name for them, but we'll just call them the obese ground people.
They'd be like bloaters in Walking Dead or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then kill 28 weeks later. Not that I don't dislike it, but it is it's the least strong film in the trilogy, I think.
Yeah. For me, especially watching them all in the span of 2 days. 28 weeks later, I think has the most interesting themes of the two movies because it extends beyond personal stories. It has themes about government during a fall, and obviously the third one kind of does with the little local community.
Yeah.
But the story or just the movie itself is not as enticing as the other two. And I think I agree with you. Like 28 days later, you marry that thing. Yeah. It's been there. It's been there for 23 years. Also, they couldn't just wait 5 years to make 28 years later. Like, come on, guys.
Well,
but that's a hot take.
Maybe the collapse of a society is more relevant now than ever.
Yeah. I think especially after COVID, it makes sense.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. Like 28 weeks later has the broadest scope. Like, it is about government. Right?
Yeah.
And it is character driven, but you get more of an idea of what's going on. You get to see like an organized civilization. But all of them fall kind of into a form of restrictive narrative
Mm-hmm.
because it's a quarantined island,
Yeah.
right? And like in all of these, you don't really get an idea of what's going on elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
in the world. You sort of do because you understand that like it's more or less contained to the UK.
Yeah.
In 28 years later,
Don't know spoilers.
oh shit. Well,
We'll get there soon.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
But
I know exactly what you're thinking.
it alludes to it, but it also alludes to the fact that like life kind of goes on.
Yep. And I think that's one of the most interesting things about 28 years later is it has a very new, almost jarring when it first kind of hits you, but perspective in a zombie movie that I don't think I've seen another zombie movie have, which is it's a huge parallel to our society right now and exactly what we've been through. So interesting. Last question before we go to spoilers. We're going to switch things up on this podcast now.
Whoa.
Instead of who is this movie for?
Yeah.
We're going to run down a list of people that we could watch this movie with. Okay?
Okay. Do you have a list prepared?
Yes. So I'm going to start with the first one.
Okay.
Can you watch this movie with your girlfriend?
Yes.
I agree, even though I don't have one.
Can you watch this movie with my girlfriend? No, you're not. You're not allowed.
Please, dude.
please. Let me just
All right,
pretend.
podcast over. Yeah, because I would only date someone that would want to watch this movie, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Can you watch this movie with your family? That encompasses mom, dad.
What about my siblings?
I mean, I have a feeling that they would watch this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm more interested about your mom and dad.
And yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because it is so character driven.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they'll like it though?
I think my mom would, because she's more into like dark fantasy and like gothic fantasy. Like she loves Dracula and shit.
Okay.
And Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I think my dad would be in it for, I think what would win him over is the like cinematography aspect.
Okay.
Like the filmmaking itself, I think he'd be down for.
Yeah. Next question, easiest one. Can you watch this with the boys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This would be a sick time, dude.
It was a sick time.
It was a sick time.
And then can you watch by yourself?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think all of the 28 movies in the series are great to watch alone, but can be a little heavy depending on where you're at and where the world is at too.
Yeah. Well,
watching 28 Days Later, well, I watched it with Max technically,
sure.
But when I'm with him, I feel like I'm alone.
Yeah, Max is an island. Clip that.
Clip it.
No, we love you, Max. Have fun at
Kellen
Enrique and Haley's wedding without us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's fine.
Fine.
Let's go to spoilers. I would say that this movie is pretty watchable with anyone. I don't know if my mom would like this. I think my dad would because he likes action movies, and there's a lot of good tense moments in this movie. Obviously can watch it with the boys. If I had a girlfriend, I'd make her watch it, and I would definitely watch this by myself.
Absolutely.
Let's go spoiler. Oh,
the more I think about it, I think my dad would be disappointed by the ending.
Oh yeah.
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 I think he would see that happen and he would make this sound and be like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be a big reaction across a lot of people. In fact, in the theater, there was somebody behind us who made a comment, and he was like, I was really fucking with the whole movie, and then that ending just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I really like the movie, but until the ending."
Yeah,
and it was
more
like
sound accurate.
It was like it was annoying. He had to make that known to his friends as soon as the movie ended.
Yeah.
He was like, "This is what I think about the movie we just watched, guys."
Yeah.
We kind of do that, but like,
sure, but we're cool.
Yeah, we're cool. We have a podcast.
I love the ending.
Yeah, it was fucking
I
awesome.
think it was my favorite part of the movie.
Dude.
And just made the ticket purchase so worth it.
Jimmy really came through.
Jimmy.
That's
all we got to say.
Yep. Fucking Jimmy.
Let's talk about spoilers.
Do it.
This is a spoiler warning. Consider yourself warned.
So, what was different about this movie 28 years later compared to Days and Weeks? With Days, you have like this really disorienting, you have no footing going into it, and you are learning what has happened to this world. It's the greatest introduction to a zombie film, in my opinion. Weeks, you have like you already know, you already have context, and you're jumping right into it. All right. This one, however, what is different is the protagonist is a young boy named Spike. And for him, this is the only world he's ever known.
Yeah.
And he asked a few times, like, there have been like a few times where like the old world kind of like flew in and intercepted him.
Like a frisbee.
Like a frisbee. Oh, you don't know what a frisbee is?
Yeah.
Man, you'll love it. Or like photos. Oh yeah, I think like a few people in my village have photos. They're old ones. Yeah, this is the only world he's ever known. And for him, it's just a part of life.
Yeah.
Right? They have this sense of normalcy within their village. They have community, they have structure, but it's not entirely government oriented. Like the people are the government.
Yeah.
Right?
Feels very democratic.
Yeah, it's almost tribal.
Yeah.
And it's a rite of passage for him to go out to the mainland and, get his first kill, right?
Rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, of course they need resources. Like he gets like an explanation from his dad of like, yeah, this is where we get wood or fuel, as he called it. We scavenge these houses for resources. In doing so, they provide exposition for like their world, right? Because their world is in that village.
Yeah.
And like outside the walls, which is like such a fun concept to explore, like outside the village walls is just fraught with danger, like all these new things.
Yeah.
And my question to you right now, Michael, is this not a zombie movie, not a disaster movie, but is it rather a coming of age story about a boy learning to cope with death?
I mean, I think it's all of those things. But I would definitely agree with that. Because there's a lot of death in this movie that he has to overcome in a lot of different ways.
Yep. The death is alive chasing him.
Yeah.
The death is also alive in his mother.
Yeah.
His mother is the perfect polar opposite to the zombies.
Yeah.
Because she's alive, but dying.
Yeah.
They're dead, but alive.
But aliving.
Dead alive. Aliving. They're terminally alive.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and that's actually really interesting. That's an interesting point. And I think this movie, out of all of them, is the most focused on death itself. Like that is, I mean, you look at the poster and it's the Temple of Skulls, which is a huge symbol in this movie. Which I think kind of makes it the bleakest out of all the movies, but the most relatable, and I think maybe the most profound. I I want to talk about that rite of passage scene because it reminds me of another movie that we saw this year that we all hate. And that's Wolfman.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
What?
Well, no, but I'm saying like 28 years later did it perfectly with the tension, right?
Okay.
Of boy, father in the woods hunting, right? Let's just call it hunting.
Boy father hunting.
Boy father hunting time. The tension in 28 years later, the way that they utilize the shots, everything they've set up, right? These slow ground, I forget what they called them. They called it something.
Oh.
We call it the grundles.
Oh, yeah.
The grundles, they're slow, they're crawling, they're fat.
That was a weird, like mind,
Yeah.
like, you know, like it was like my mind dubbed over what they were saying to grundle.
Yeah, well, as soon as you and I saw that, we both thought grundle.
Yeah.
You know, so
We're grundle wired.
apologize.
I don't.
Wolfman,
Mm-hmm.
awful.
Terrible.
The father hunting scene was so cringy,
Oh,
not tense.
yeah.
And I think to put those two scenes together would be a really interesting comparison, just to learn about filmmaking.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Dude, the editing when he's stepping out of the walls for the first time with that like 1950s English propaganda like public announcement.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck. What was that? I was reading about that and it totally escaped my mind.
It was from
World War II, right?
Yeah, it was like a metronome for marching, but
Yeah.
it was like for like I don't know, like young soldiers, like 1, 2, 3, they're on top of you.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, like run for cover, like you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the repetition
Yeah.
and learning fear, because fear also played a huge role in this film, you know, especially in tandem with death itself.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there is also like this fear of losing life,
Mm-hmm.
losing your own, and Spike losing his mother's.
Mm-hmm.
And also like Spike losing his father in a way too,
Mhm.
like his father's own,
Yeah.
you know, philanderous.
Lusty loins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a man with perhaps too much life.
Yeah. God, I mean, it just had to be Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, it just makes sense.
Oh, well.
It's just so attractive.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I mean, you know, come on.
Come on.
He's only a man.
Something in that sequence that you were talking about with the speech over it that just got me. Like, I fucking loved. And they do this more throughout the movie,
Mhm.
but it's the like infrared night vision colored red of just
Yeah.
zombies. And were there deer in there? Was I just imagining
Oh
that?
no, there were deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, here and there.
So sinister.
Yeah.
Like one of the most unsettling images I've seen of zombies in general.
Dude, man. Deer at night,
Oh, yeah.
fucking creepy, man.
There's something alien-like about
Yeah.
them.
Well, it's like, you know, their eyes being like on either side of their head and their necks being so long and them being so curious yet like
Horns.
timid. Like,
Yeah.
I think back to like just being in the woods at night and like a moonlit glade and then seeing like a pair of eyes like reflecting back at me, but like you can kind of make out a body, but the neck is like super long.
Mm-hmm.
It's that like uncanny valley shit
Yeah.
where it's like familiar, but like there's something about it that's disturbing, you can't put your finger on. And the reason that it's so scary is because you just can't understand why you're so scared.
Yeah.
And
I've also I've never seen a deer that doesn't look like it has an eating disorder. You know? Like they're all just so like their necks are so skinny and they just seem lanky to me. Their legs are all lanky, you know?
Yeah.
There's something like there's some zombies in this movie that look like that too.
Yeah.
And it's just unsettling. It's unsettling to see.
Yeah, well, it's all uncanny because they move like humans. You know, they look like humans, but they're not.
Yeah. Something that I'd love to touch on with Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, since we're kind of in that area.
I'd love to touch on Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I would love to touch on his character. Please.
Go ahead, Michael.
This is my biggest bugaboo of the movie.
Uh-oh.
I feel like they really his character was strong. So strong in the first half of the movie. And then his infidelity happened, right? And rightfully his kid was mad at him, left him, right? Naturally, like your parental instinct, right? I mean, I'm not a father, so I wouldn't know personally, but there's just like no drive for him to find his family. Like, we never get that. You know what I mean? He's complacent almost. And I know they very lightly set it up in the movie where they're like, if you go in there, we're not searching for you type of thing.
No one is permitted to come find you. Like,
Is that what they said?
Yeah, they won't allow anyone to go look for you.
That sounds so dumb though. Like, that is so weak to me.
Well,
that is like strictly to me a really easy way to be like, okay, now we don't have to write this whole thing about his dad.
Yeah,
you know,
well, I mean, those are the rules. I think to justify that, you could argue that maybe that's a learned thing, you know, because people would naturally want to, like, in an act of desperation where they're not thinking clearly, go find someone they love, fully knowing that they're probably going to die in the process. And it is a small village where, like, human life is sacred. You know, you gotta keep that going. Yeah. So, I mean, in the effort of protection.
They just set up Aaron Taylor Johnson's character like he's this sniper with the bow, you know. He is God when he's out there. He's not scared of anything.
He's Legolas out there.
Yeah,
but he looks like Aragorn. He's so light. His feet hardly leave imprints on the snow.
I feel like that was just like the weakest part of the writing for me, because it felt like there's this hole that was missed there. And even if he's not allowed to go out there, right, we don't get any of that. We don't get a struggle of him wanting to go out there at all. Like, we just completely lose him as a character once they're in the woods, which, you know, you could argue like, well, that makes the other characters stronger, right? And that makes our point of view stronger with them because we're in their story. They're not with them anymore, right? But the thing that this movie was lacking to me was an A-B story. There was a very strong A story, and then the B story, like, also the town, they're throwing this party, right, in the very beginning for his rite of passage, and they don't make it back on time, and you don't see the town worrying at all or anything. They're just partying without them. Almost, you know, they're like setting up, and I just felt like there's some moments in this movie, you know, they're not like, the movie's awesome, you know, but it was just noticeable to me as a writer, like, I think the movie would have been stronger if there was a stronger B story to complement that A story. You know, the struggle of being a father, right? Because I think something that was very interesting with his character, and it felt like they were setting it up, is like that feeling of hopelessness with somebody that you're with. And, you know, it's fucked up to think about, but, you know, you think about your partner, right? Like, what happens if, you know, they fucking get terminally ill, right? And it's a heavy thing to grapple with, right? And he he handles it, and maybe not the best way, you know? But it's a hard thing for anyone to go through, right? But then that struggle for his character gets completely washed away. And we never revisit it. I think there's just something that could have been really strong there, you know?
Michael,
those are my 2 cents.
Thank you. Your 2 cents have been deposited. Now, I want to propose something to you.
Hit me.
This is what I think.
Okay.
All right. Now, one might think reasonably that I am grasping at straws here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One could say that I am smoking hopium.
Okay.
I am practicing hopecore.
Okay.
Ooh, actually, I don't think I used that right. I don't think I used that right. Cut that.
You're reaching into your hope bank right now.
One could say I'm jelking. Is that... Am I using that right? Am I saying... Oh, that's really close. So, okay. All jokes aside, I think there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a sequel about these stories. And here's why. First, when was the last moment we saw the B story of the father?
That
Can you
was
think of that?
when he gets the letter.
That's when he gets the letter. And what did he do next?
He left and went out.
He sprinted out toward the gates.
Yep.
And we don't see him reach the gates. We don't see him leave. We see him...
No, we saw him leave.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, he gets out of the gate, and then he's in the water because the tide is too strong. And he's just screaming outside. So we don't see him fully go out, but he is out.
Okay. Well, we have that.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Jimmy. Now, Jimmy.
We got to talk about Jimmy.
We got to talk about Jimmy. And Jimmy, I think, is a big reason why I think there will be a sequel. I think it will be more Jimmy-centric. And here's why. So, the movie opens on Jimmy as a boy.
Yes.
Right?
Teletubbies.
Jimmy, Teletubbies, undergoing the first stages of this this outbreak of the virus. And it's so bizarre to me. On one hand, that could be a device. Jimmy could just be a device used to provide exposition for maybe those who haven't seen the movies prior to, like, you know, what's going on.
Sure.
Right? Zombie outbreak. Okay, we got it. Now we're going to the main story.
It's kind of like your NCIS. You know, you have to see someone get murdered first.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have like the team that solves the murder.
Yeah,
right?
they solve the case.
Yeah. However, like, our team doesn't solve Jimmy's case, right? We see Jimmy as a kid, and like the reason it's so bizarre to me, the reason like it stands out so much to me is because it's so iconoclastic to the rest of the story, and it's so boldly imprinted in like the first images you see of like the strangeness, the uniqueness, and the like the compelling nature of like the characters. Why was his father so like his priest father like so crazy?
Yeah.
Why was he like you keep this on you, my boy, and like, you know, like he's like, this is a day of judgment, blah. It's like that was so bizarre, such a bizarre choice.
Sure.
You know, in contrast to the bleakness of the main story, how gray that was compared to like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Jimmy as a kid runs off. We don't hear from him at all throughout the entire film. We get like a little hint. We see a body carved up with the name Jimmy on it.
Yeah.
And they like analyze it. The father's like,
and it's like a zombie.
Yeah.
It's dead or undead at this point.
Yeah, I think
hanging
it was
from the ceiling.
The inference was that maybe it was a punishment for someone who was alive. and they were left to become a zombie, right?
We'll talk about it.
That's all we get, right? And then at the very end, we see this really interesting character who like does a front flip off a cliff
wearing a tiara.
He's wearing a tiara. He's wearing an upside down gold cross that he got from his father, refitted. And he and all of his goons are wearing like different colored tracksuits like Power Rangers.
Yep.
And they're like doing this insane like it's like Shaun of the Dead.
Parkour, dude.
It's this this such a bizarre like just burst of comedy at the end for
metal
like
music.
Especially after like the conclusion to Spike's story with his mom, how heavy that was and like how bleak it was the entire time, the themes of infidelity and like his mom is struggling with cancer. And like, it's so sad and dark, And then it's just like wildly campy all of a sudden. It goes from like profound to just like almost like extremely dumb.
Yeah.
Fun dumb.
Yes.
But something about that I can't shake, man. Like something tells me that like there is going to be something about that we have yet to see more of.
I hope so. I really hope so. And a few things I want to touch on.
Yeah.
By the way, you explained that beautifully. I just
you.
want to commend you.
Oh.
That was... Mwah.
Oh, dude, thank you so much.
I think that the body hung upside down, we learn at the end of the movie, is his mark.
Mm-hmm.
After they kill a bunch of zombies. Because that's all they did, right? And then at the end, they hung it up like a flag.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote Jimmy. Something with Spike's character that is just so missable in this movie is the fact that he has a Power Ranger, like action figure.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of leaves it behind.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only time we see that thing. And then the end, like you said, we get this Power Ranger, like the editing of it, the style of the choreography, like it is Power Rangers, And I just, God, I hope he joins, dude. I hope he's a fucking Power Ranger by then.
His dad finds him and he's a fucking Cockney Power Ranger. Well, they weren't Cockney, but...
I think there's a lot of things that this movie set up that could be explored, and I really hope they do. The fact that an undead gave birth to a regular baby.
Yeah.
That poses a question like, is there a quality of life still inside these people that can be reversed or something? That's what I took from it.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
And we're seeing the alphas, right? Like they have a clear drive, right? It's kind of like a Neanderthal instinct, but they're way smarter than the regular zombies.
Oh yeah. They like leave their mark.
Yeah.
Like they'll rip the skulls and spines out of like bodies.
Yeah.
Animal or man. And like hang it up as like kind of like, I don't know, maybe what like big predators do, like making markings on trees. Like
they also use them as weapons.
Yeah, that was so sick.
I forgot who he did that to, who the alpha killed with a head, but it was awesome.
Yeah. That was fucking sick. Man, and Ulrich.
Yeah, poor guy.
Not poor guy. I mean, we were made to not feel bad for him.
I felt kind of bad.
It was, yeah. I mean,
he saved them, and then he was, put yourself in his shoes. He was doing the right thing the whole time.
Yeah,
he's like, fuck that baby. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, true.
Gnarly decision to make, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, I hate to be the guy who
wants
says
to kill
this.
the baby.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, like it like his significance in the film. It's kind of like, I'm gonna sound like a fucking asshole, but Occam's razor. right?
I'm not familiar.
So Occam's razor is this principle that like the most obvious thing is the answer.
Mm.
And it's often used in law, law, and philosophy. But his significance in the film to me was really just like juxtaposing our modern society with like something more down to earth and like grounded. And I think maybe the take on that could be like, you know, this sort of like devaluing of life in a way as it is like organically, like compared to like, you know, like how we are now. We're so jaded. You know, we have smartphones we're constantly addicted to, and
lip
like
fillers.
Yeah. Ulrich showed him a picture of his fiance, and all of us laughed in the theater because she was just
even the girls with lip fillers in the audience laughed.
She was all Botoxed up and like, you know, looked a little grotesque, but also that is like, you know, for some people out there, for a lot of people actually, like that is a standard of beauty that is revered.
Yeah.
And it's strange, you know, because we do have that duality in our society now where like, you know, we have this yearning for like the organic, like old days before things really got in the way. And then we have like everything now that's supposed to be new and better, but is it?
The excitement of the future, I guess, and like being different, which I think is always like somewhat short-lived.
Kind of raises the question like is life better outside of the quarantine zone?
Yeah.
You know?
Which I think is great to touch on because, and this is what we were talking about earlier, but what I think is so original from any other zombie film is the fact that the rest of the world is fine.
Yeah.
They're back. The same way that we came back from COVID, right? Like you said earlier, life goes on. I might have COVID, by the way.
Yeah, not you.
No, I'm dying.
You did not come back.
We're in the quarantine zone.
Yeah, I'm fucked.
Yeah, sorry, man. But then we have these quarantine zones, which, you know, is just the woods. And it's there's an interesting, I think there's something to kind of to really pick at there, because the zone that you're not allowed to go into is the most natural, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, maybe this is just a microcosm in the movie. I'm assuming there's natural parks that aren't quarantine zones, you know, in there. But from what we see, right, the outside world, they're not allowed to go into. They're only allowed to be in their little remote village that they've built for themselves, or the quarantine zone, which they called the mainland, you know? And never seen that in a zombie movie where life goes on, but there's parts of the world that do not, you know? And I think that is something that obviously is true in real life. You know, there's uncontacted tribes, there's third world countries, you know? And how do they survive something like COVID? Obviously, like, you know, uncontacted tribes, I don't know if they even got any repercussions from COVID at all.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
but you know, how does a third world country come back from something like that?
yeah. Well, I remember reading an article once of this, like, it wasn't an uncontacted tribe, but it was like a rural, like primal tribe in Africa. And like there was this mission to like bring them like resources. And that, like, mind you, like this was like, you know, they were not adapted to modern society by any means, but for some reason, like among the things they gave them, like some food and like water, for some reason they gave them like iPads with like Starlink. And I read something, they did a follow-up, and within 3 weeks, like, a majority of the tribe was addicted to porn.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, dude.
They made him gooners?
Yeah. They made them gooners, dude.
Oh, we can't be doing that.
Dude, and it's
what
like...
kind of mission is this, dude?
to goon around the world.
The Church of Goon.
Goon Cross.
Wow, that is sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
That's
and it's
really
like,
sad.
it's amazing how fast, like, I mean, it's like, we see like interviews from like, and I'm not allying myself with any of these figures, just saying, but like, you know, enemies of like Western society over the years, like, I don't know, Saddam Hussein and like Putin and shit. And like, they're all talking about how Western society is like poisoned, and like how like all these things like MTV and you know, like promiscuous women and like all these things they're like destroying, they've destroyed the society, and they've destroyed the minds of the people, and like they can't be trusted because they're infected with this like capitalistic mind virus, right? There may be some truth to that.
Sure. I mean, I think if you're healthy, you can see that.
Yeah.
You can recognize that and still partake.
So like, one could say that like the people who aren't infected in this world of 28 days / weeks / years later, those are people who live, you know, if we're making this direct comparison, like healthy lifestyles in Western society where like they exercise every day, they're not addicted to porn, or addicted to their phones, and they live meaningful lives and establish meaningful connections. They're not Discord mods. No offense.
Offense.
But then like all the zombies are gooners. And they're like,
oh no,
incels.
Dude, imagine a movie. Oh no, that should be the Yodello movie.
The woke mind virus.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah.
Jimmy, get inside. The liberals are coming.
Oh god.
Oh.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I think this is my favorite blockbuster of the year.
Yeah.
I would say, especially for a third movie in, you know, an IP, it was handled very well. It wasn't, it didn't serve the audience, you know, that is originally invested in the IP. Like, it served anyone who wanted to watch this movie, who was interested in it. And I appreciate that. And I think it was wholly original from a lot of zombie movies, and it maintained the style of the other two.
Yeah.
But it had its own twist too.
Oh yeah.
Some of the kills that like left to right, fucking 180 cam thing.
We haven't even touched on the fact that this was entirely shot on iPhones.
Oh my god, how have we not done that?
It's like it was shot on 40 iPhones. iPhone what?
I don't know which ones, but probably the newest ones.
Probably. But yeah, they had like so many different camera angles. The fucking like 360 rotation, like freeze frames of the kills.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's like Matrix style almost.
Yeah. And also, dude, like in some of the scoring and like sound design, like there was one action sequence where it had that sort of like energetic breakbeat type like music.
I know exactly what
like
you're
that
talking about.
2000s sort of like breakbeat.
Kind of British.
Kind of like, yeah, pretty British. And it ended on like a hit, like a vocal hit, like, yeah. And like, wow, dude, that brought back, I think maybe that aids in like that deeper theme of like the iconoclast of like, you know, old and like modern,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I think the soundtrack was one of the best soundtracks of this year.
Yeah, shout out to Young Fathers.
Yeah.
Sick.
I've listened to their music casually here and there. But I did not realize that they did the music for this until the credits rolled. And then it just made so much sense. It was like, of course they made that.
Yeah.
Because it's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
But cool.
Yeah.
Like, you and I were talking about it when we got outside of the theater, but there's a scene that's beautiful of, the father and the son, and they're walking back to their village.
They're on the causeway.
Yeah. Stars.
With like the sea going out into the horizon and like
reflections of stars. You can see like the northern lights.
Yeah, you had this like beautiful aurora borealis, and then also kind of this like almost, I don't know how they did it, but it was like this sort of superimposed like red galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, or yeah, just the stars were so vivid.
And during that scene, there's music playing that is so interesting. Like, I don't think I've heard a song that invoked this type of vibe before. Like, it was a fully like different emotion that I've ever felt in a scene, where it felt like almost celebratory, but in like a really cerebral way, like you're going to heaven or something like that. But at the same time, there's this stale, like dark undertone.
Well, because that alpha was like trudging up behind them full sprint, and like they escaped by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
And it was like such a tense scene, but with such like triumphant music. And then it had those sort of flash cuts to like the celebration, as well as the sort of, is that an L cut or a J cut of like the sound of like the party as they're running, not out of the woods yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had people celebrating, and then we're like cutting in between that and like this super tense scene.
Yeah, it's a J cut.
Yeah.
Where the audio, is coming in. Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. It reminded me kind of Midsummer during the cliff diving scene.
Oh God, yeah. Where it's like a happy thing, but it's
and that's something like I eat that shit up.
Yeah.
When there's something happy, but it's also during something very sad. And like for me, that was the beginning of this movie. Like I thought it was such a strong choice to have a group of kids watching a show that's supposed to bring delight to kids. They're just watching Teletubbies, but you see like this unspoken communication between all the kids. They know something's wrong, and you can very visibly see it on their face. Some of them are crying, and there's just so much emotion in that feeling of trying to be happy, but nothing can make you escape the sadness,
Dude, that's beautiful you put it that way.
Yeah.
Because like that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah.
There's so much confusion, especially for like Spike, a young boy coming up in like a chaotic world.
Yeah.
With no clear answers in sight. But I think what this film is trying to tell us is to not be distracted by, like the surreal.
The things that are trying to distract you from the reality of life, which is death.
It is death. I mean, memento mori, right?
Yeah.
But also what that doctor's character, the character doctor character. What Mr. Fiennes,
the character doctor,
his character doctor was trying to tell us was Alto. Holy fuck!
Aneurysm.
Dart. Was also memento amoris. Memento mori. Remember that you must die, right? Memento amoris. Remember to love.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the whole point of this film. Like, don't be like dissuaded. Don't be distracted by, all these things. There are so many things that can consume your precious time here on life or here on earth, but do not forget to appreciate what you have because it is so finite.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is represented by the Eric character in a way as well. And I just think about the photo that he shows us of his fiance, and I mean, it's a fucking Teletubby. Yeah, his fiance is a Teletubby. It's something that's distracting him from the concept of he's eventually going to die, right? And then we immediately see him die, like pretty soon after that.
You know what I think? I don't think that was his fiance.
I don't think so either.
I think he's her number one OnlyFans sub.
Dude, you're so right. You're so right, dude. She goes to another school.
Yep.
You wouldn't know her.
Yeah, he shows him a photo like, this kid will never know. This is my fiance. She's like the hottest chick ever.
It's just in his spank bank.
Yeah. Don't swipe right. Yeah, Eric was a gooner.
Yeah. But I think you're spot on with that. And that's actually a very interesting concept, is the harder that you try to distract yourself from the inevitable, right? You are going to die, whether that's getting eaten by a zombie or whether that's from natural causes like cancer, right?
Jinx on cancer.
Oh God. What do we even have to do for that?
You owe me.
Let's talk about it later.
You owe me chemotherapy.
Fuck.
Yeah, I'd hate to be you, but I also hate to be me.
Yeah.
And that's life, dude.
That's life.
And
we have to lean into it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful reminder, especially now. I mean, as we're talking, right? We might be on the cusp of World War III, right? There's a lot of violence just in our country in general. Mm-hmm. Life is never promised. We got out of a pandemic, that a lot of people didn't survive. Mm-hmm. And we're still here. And we get to talk to each other. We get to have meaningful connections with people around us. God damn it, I'm going to fucking cry, dude.
Dude, even if all of those things didn't happen, one day I won't be here.
Yeah.
One day you won't be here.
Well,
like I think about that with my dog, dude. Like she's getting old and she's having all these problems. And like, every day I go and feed her and, pet her and kiss her on the forehead and tell her how pretty she is. And, one day I'm just going to have to accept that, like, I'll never see her again.
Yeah.
And
every pet must be cherished.
Yeah. And it's like, even those moments, when we're just sitting on the couch and she's like dreaming and farting in her sleep, I just take a moment to think, like, this isn't nice. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah.
One day we won't be on this podcast, Michael.
It's probably going to be soon.
Yeah, well, with the lifestyle I live, I'm probably going to die next year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd say probably right around there.
Yeah. Oh.
Well.
Pretty soon, actually.
This is, it's been a great podcast. I really enjoyed watching this movie.
Dude, I had a great time watching this with you, Michael. And, I almost want to watch. I was bummed I didn't get to watch the others with you. So I would love to watch them again.
Yeah, we should eventually watch all three. I think it'd be sick.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, please subscribe. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please. Tell your friend that might like movies to watch this. Who knows?
Yeah. Tell your mom. Tell your neighbor. If you're at the grocery store, tell the clerk.
Tell every person that you fucking know.
That's what I do. If a grocery store clerk strikes up conversation with me and I don't want to talk to him, I'll just bring up Boys Meet Film.
Yeah.
Be like, hey.
Anyone you don't want to talk to, like, just mention us. And then most of the time they'll probably walk away.
Yeah, they'll leave you alone. It's guaranteed to drive them away from you, but it will be stuck in their heads.
There's a weird guy at the bar. Just tell them about Boys Meet Film.
Yeah. If you're listening to this stranded on an island, don't waste your single scrap of paper writing SOS. Write Boys Meet Film.
Yeah. BMF.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Boys Meet Film. You can follow me on Letterboxd at mschnee. Schnee. A lot of people say Schnee, but it's Schnee. Whatever. Fuck me.
Oh my God. Dude. I say Schnee because it's fun.
Thanks.
Schnee.
And tune in next week because we're going to watch another movie that I've been very excited to watch.
What movie, Michael?
F1.
Oh, no.
And with that, have a great week, folks.